Thank y'all for coming tonight, and it's great to be here. We're traveling the state, and I thought it important to make sure I stop in all of the regions, and I plan to travel to every parish. It's important that every parish and every corner of the state know they're important to the Lieutenant Governor's office and the Lieutenant Governor. But I'm here today to announce my candidacy for Lieutenant Governor. When I first ran for office in Plaquemines Parish, I'd ridden out Katrina at my home, and I was angry at the response to the devastation that our parish suffered. Here we are, several years later, over $500 million in improvements, and Plaquemines Parish returned a surplus this year to our residents, over $7 million. We have hundreds of new businesses, and Plaquemines Parish is in better shape than it's ever been. But that's because we took a business approach to government. We got in there, and everything we could do to improve the quality of life, if it was flood protection, if it was levees, if it was business interests, whatever it was, we tackled it. We didn't say it's not in the job description. And I want to take that same approach to the Lieutenant Governor's office. We know the #1 job of the Lieutenant Governor is tourism. Well, I think it needs to be so much more. We have an opportunity that we'll never have again to save this coastline. We had that horrible disaster on April 20th, and we can never forget the 11 men that lost their lives and their families. But it destroyed our coastline with oil. It still is making it difficult for people to come down and fish. It's making it difficult to sell our seafood. But we also need to make sure it never happens again. Many of the storms that have torn up our coast and continue to make people make a decision whether to live along the coast or not has cost us continued migration north. We built the berms in the oil spill. In 19 days, we permitted those berms. That was the largest coastal restoration project in the history of the United States. Now, we heard the oil was going to go to Florida. We heard it was going to cause the white snail to die. None of that happened. Nobody died. The oil didn't go to Florida. But we have the largest coastal restoration project out there ever. And it's out there working. We have an opportunity when Lisa Jackson makes her recommendations to President Obama in October to change the permitting process to allow us to save our coast. And we can do that by expediting the permitting process, by getting an emergency permit so we don't have to study for 8 years before we do a coastal project. But that opportunity will only be there through the next couple of years. It's going to take leadership in Baton Rouge working with the governor to make that happen. We also need to make sure that tourism works hand in hand with economic development. It's creating jobs and opportunities in all the parishes of the state and working as a team effort, as we did for this oil spill. I keep going back to the oil spill because I saw something during that oil spill I've never seen in Louisiana for many years. We worked hand in hand from Cameron to St. Bernard across parish lines. The oil did not know parish boundaries. It didn't care if you were Republican or Democrat, but we stood up every day and did what was best for Louisiana and to keep that oil from destroying our coastline. If we start doing that in Baton Rouge, we can make this state a great place to live again. The team effort is so important. I saw things happen during this oil spill that angered me. Y'all saw me on TV many nights upset by the course of action. And one day we may know why the men and women of the Coast Guard were tasked with protecting BP. Why, when we were rescuing those birds, they put an 80-foot rule in place that kept us from rescuing the birds. Why were those laws put in place to stop us from rescuing the animals? We've got to make sure that that never happens again. We've got to make sure that we are in control if this ever does happen again, much like the hurricanes, where we work from the parish up to the state and the federal government, to have the federal government come in and take over during this disaster was horrible. And that's why we saw so much wildlife die and lose so many hundreds of acres of marshland. But it needs, the Lieutenant Governor's office needs to be working hand in hand with the governor. There needs to be that team effort in Baton Rouge to tackle any problem, not just tourism, not just economic development, whatever disaster or whatever problem comes up. And that's what I intend to do as Lieutenant Governor. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.